Hey everybody, welcome to another episode on EPM Coffee Chat. Hope everybody is doing great. We do have an amazing guest on our show today.
Ooh,
So a little bit
who?
about, yeah, wondering who it
I'm
is.
excited to hear about this person.
So everybody knows about Ed. He's wrote a lot of, plenty of books about Essbase. We have read those books. We've learned a lot of things from those books. There you go.
There you
The
go.
Asmat is showing the
I don't even
book.
have a copy of one of those lying around.
I
That's
have signed
impressive.
copies. I have signed copies.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks,
lucky
Edward.
one.
Yeah. Ed, yeah, Ed is based out of Puerto Rico, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. And right now, Ed is focused mostly on AI related offerings, I believe. So we'll talk about that during the podcast itself. But Ed, really, really great to have you on the podcast. Looking to learn a lot from you. But yeah, I'll welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. A small bit of clarification. Um, I go by Edward.
Okay.
Before you decide I'm a pompous asshat, I'm actually a junior. So my dad is Ed Roske, and when people
Okay.
say Ed, it actually does not register that they're talking to me. I'd be more likely, please don't do this, but I'd be more likely to answer to Eddie, because at
Eddie.
least
Okay.
that's what I kind of did as a child. But yeah, my father has since passed away, but out of respect for him, I give him the Ed name, and I
Okay.
I stick with Edward. And now
Yeah.
that story is public. I don't know if I've ever said that on a podcast.
There you
So
go. It's good to know.
Awesome. Okay.
yeah,
So, Edward, welcome to the podcast.
thank you. Glad to be here.
So,
Yeah, in terms of you're correct in everything you said. I am broadcasting from a beautiful island in the Caribbean. I've lived in Puerto Rico now for 3.5 years. I did spend, let's just say 25 plus years in solely in the world of EPM, or let me rephrase that. It went through 21 name changes on its way to enterprise performance management. I think when I got started, they were calling them, I think it was even before OLAP, like decision support systems or multidimensional databases are what people were going with at the time. And then it wandered around through like business intelligence and business performance management and corporate performance management. And then someone decided if a C is better than a B, and E is even better than that. And then it went to enterprise performance management. But yeah, back in 2023, I left interRel in safe hands over at Argonaut, which is now $1 billion company. It's kind of amazing. Originally, just us and Kest got together and like, let's just take two tiny Dallas companies and see what happens. And I think the two of us together had 300 employees. Now they're up to like 3,500. But
yeah.
in 2023, I said, I think this AI thing might not be a bubble. I'm going to see if this really catches on. So I left Argonaut to, do you guys know, I actually have a master's of data science. I hardly ever tell people that,
Yep.
but I kind of wasn't doing anything with it.
Yeah.
Um, but I was like, I can finally put this to use with this AI thing if it really catches on. And what I discovered is that for the rest of 2023, everyone asked me to please be quiet because, like, no, 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 it writes badly. Shut up. Like, it's never going to catch on. And then 2024 was maybe it'll catch on for like slight needs. And then by 2025, everyone's like, oh, we've been using it forever. You're late to the game, Edward. I'm like, no, no, no. I was here first. Anyway, what I'm doing now is mostly AI on EPM. So it's because I actually have those two skill sets. What do you
No.
want to talk about? What's on your mind?
That's amazing. If I may jump in here, Edward, I was really curious. I know we wanted to focus mostly on AI and APM, but I'm really interested in your interRel company. You know, we all read your books and all of your co-authors that helped to write those books. So it's very close to us to some extent. And I was always curious, why you decided to just, hand over that company? What was your, driver? Why you decided to go that way?
So I'll answer that question, but since we're just kind of having a fun little friendly coffee chat,
Right.
I'll tell you a little book story to begin with. which is I had been writing that first Essbase book, which at the time I called Essbase for Mere Mortals and Insider's Guide. And if you can get a hold of one of those 250 copies, they're going to be worth a ton in a trademark infringement lawsuit someday, because it turns out both For Mere Mortals and an Insider's Guide are held by someone else's trademark. But I'd been writing it for years, and I'd never been in a big hurry because there was no demand for it. Everybody at the time was reading the Database Administrator's Guide or the Essbase Technical Reference, and for some of us, I'll put it politely, old timers in the crowd, you remember that those were not how-to guides, they were reference manuals. You know, you went to them to look up how to do a specific thing, but like you couldn't start at the beginning of the Database Administrator's Guide and by the end of it know how to build an Essbase cube. And I thought, why doesn't that book exist? So I wrote it, but I was in no pressure because there was no demand for it. And then I woke up, it was like April 1st. I still think it was an April Fool's joke, 2007. And my business partner called and he said, "Hey, we're now the owner of a consulting firm controlled by the every whim of Larry Ellison." And I'm like, that's not funny. That's not a good joke. And it turned out, once I woke up and was conscious, that right about that day, Oracle announced they were buying Hyperion, and that would be one final Hyperion Solutions conference, like 7 weeks later or something like that. Although they wanted to hold one in Lyon, France that year too, but the real final one was going to be just in like less than 2 months. I'm like, ack. So I figured, well, I better get this book out because if I don't finish it now, there's no point because they're probably going to kill the Hyperion product, which didn't happen. So I called up Tracy and I said, Tracy McMullen, I've written over half, let's call it 2/3 of the book, but I'm missing one thing, all the individual to-do steps. So I've written all the framework and I've told everybody what to do and I have this little path and I've walked them through this great thing and I really need you to like finish this book for me. She's like, awesome. What year do you want it done? I'm like, I don't know. You got 3 weeks, maybe four, so we can hit the publishing date. So Tracy, one of the greatest people on planet Earth, I like stepped in and said, yeah, no problem, sir. I'll just say goodbye to my family and managed to get it done. We got it out and we sold this. It was either, no, I think about it, I think it was 500 copies. We sold them out at Solutions. And it went, oh my, turns out people actually want to read this thing. So that's when we went to go trademark the title and found out it violated trademarks and we had to switch it. By the way, I know that isn't what you asked, and I will get to your question, gosh darn it. People ask like how do we came up with the "Look Smarter Than You Are" name?
Yeah.
Because it turns out that every good name is already trademarked. And we went back and forth with this IP attorney, like over and over and over again. It's like, well, how about this? And like, no, that's trademarked. How about this? Like, oh, that's trademarked. Like, how about this? Well, that's only trademarked in computer books, but if you write a cookbook, you could use that title. So I got really annoyed one day and said, how about "Look Smarter Than You Are"? And the attorney laughed and like, no, you actually want me to check that? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm getting tired of this whole thing. So he wrote me back and he's like, yeah, if you're serious, we can trademark that. I was like, okay, fine. But that's how it became like the brand. In the midst of all this, interRel did very, very well. So I'm pivoting back to Fred's question. So interRel, I really thought Oracle is going to do to Hyperion and Essbase what they did to Oracle or to Express, Era Express when they bought it, which is make it disappear in like a speed run to zero. But it turns out I should have, instead of asking like, how is Oracle going to change Hyperion? I guess I should have been asking, how is Hyperion going to change Oracle? Because all of a sudden it just blew up like in like a good way. Are there good blowups?
Yeah.
So yeah, it started taking off, and all of a sudden it's like selling everywhere. And interRel, we doubled our revenue in a matter of months. We were partner of the year like twice in a row. I think it was either 2007, 2008, or 2008 and 2009. We had never been partner of the year at Hyperion, but suddenly we were EPM partner of the year at Oracle. And it's like we thought we were just going to disappear into it like an Accenture PwC, I don't know, pawn, and it didn't happen. So it was doing really, 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 really well. Now advanced to 2020. And in 2020, kids, look this up on Wikipedia if that still exists. There was a pandemic that occurred. And all of a sudden, we hit what was called a V-shaped recession. And we plummeted 2 straight quarters dramatically. And then it rose the next 2 quarters. Well, V-shaped recession. What surprised everybody is it was the steepest drop and re-rise of any recession in history. And all of a sudden, it turns out we didn't need to travel to do consulting. And all of a sudden, we could consult remotely. Well, roughly 15 to 20% of every consulting budget goes to American Airlines or Air Canada or Hilton or Marriott. And all of a sudden, those companies that don't view it like we always viewed it like this was our pool of money, and then you have to pay expenses on top of that. That's not how a client views it. A client views it as the project costs this much. And now I don't have to spend this on American or Marriott or Air Canada. I can now give it to you. It's like, holy, that's a great idea. Thank you, sir. So all of a sudden, our revenue also skyrocketed. So we did very, very well, but we still had the lingering cash crunch of the start of 2020. It's like, okay, during that recession, things got very, very tight. I know I'm dominating this whole conversation. So we said, what is the best thing for the company? What is the best thing for the people? What's the best thing long term? Well, we had been for 25 years sticking to that one lane, right? That EPM lane. So then we got together with Kest, who stuck to the CRM lane, and we said, what if we got 5 companies together and we all could stick in our own lane, but we were more powerful together? That would be better for the people, better for all the levels. We won't fire anybody for synergy reasons. We'll keep everybody. It's going to be awesome. So we thought, let's take EPM, CRM. We'll get an ERP firm in there, an HCM firm, human capital, and a supply chain firm, and we'll do that by 2025. This is I do still own substantial equity at Argano, so fair disclosure, they are privately held. You can't go buy them, but I will tell you, they've now brought 29 companies in as part of Argano, because it turns out that while Kest was almost discretely Oracle, they also had a Salesforce practice. We were discretely Oracle, but there was no large discrete ERP company, one large discrete SCM company, one large discrete HCM company. So once you brought all those, you suddenly found out we also have an SAP division. We also have a Salesforce division. Now we have to fill all those out, and they're still doing it. And if I could finally answer your actual original question, I look back on it as a good thing. Speed bumps all along the ways. Whatever you think is going to happen, there's always what you think is going to happen and what you're sure isn't going to happen. But there's the whole third category of things you can't even conceive of. Like, wait, what? A lot of that is what ended up happening, like with building that company. But yeah, I think they've held on to, I don't know, 75-80% of the interRel people are still there, including almost entirely all the back office staff is still there. But anyway, follow-on question. Now that I've stopped talking after 25 minutes, go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah, thanks for sharing all of these details. I was actually thinking, I know we have limited time, and I was thinking I need to narrow my questions. But no, this is great. I appreciate you sharing all of this.
Every question you ask, I will answer 17 of them. So just be very careful with your question count.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I will let the rest of the team, I know everyone has a lot of questions, so we'll take turns.
Yeah. So, Edward, let's talk about AI and EPM.
Sure.
So, where do you see the most change or impact happening in terms of AI being used in EPM?
So, first of all, AI in EPM or outside of EPM is the greatest productivity tool I have seen in my lifetime. Computers existed before I was born. We did add cool things like databases and enterprise applications, and we added internet, we added the cloud, but this is a fundamental reshaping. And there are a couple schools of thought right now. Actually, there's a rising tide growing in the second school, which is not that AI is going to kill us all, but it's going to take all of our jobs. And how are we going to survive financially? And those people are so concerned about AI financially that it clouds any other judgment they might have on AI. Like, oh my gosh, that image is AI generated. How dare you not have this thing hand drawn at $1,500 an hour by somebody? It gets almost irrational. But there's also the other side of the irrationality, which is AI is going to be such a great game changer. We won't even need people anymore. The computers will talk to the computers and they'll kind of do everything kind of all off on their own. And they also tune out a bit of like logic because at the end of the day, it's culture that's going to hold us back from using it. AI has been a good financial analyst since before generative AI. If you look at something like IPM in Oracle, Intelligent Performance Management, that existed before the current rise. Oracle has been doing AI functionality for over a decade. Go tell Gabby Rubin that they just discovered AI, and he'll go, "Oh, hold my beer and let me show you what's already in Oracle Analytics Cloud," and he'll show you all the cool AI stuff that they've had for forever. It's already been a competent financial analyst. What changed is now it can explain it. So it's not just where did that trend come from that I don't understand. You've been able to do, I think the at trend function, which did like binomial splicing, predates, I even want to say Hyperion planning. I think that actually goes back to Essbase. It's how long that function has been out there. But now it can go, here's the trend I expect to occur, and here's why I actually expect it to happen. You've cut your marketing travel budget, your sales travel budget. You've cut your marketing spend budget. That's going to make you more profitable right now, but in 6 months, you're going to stop having leads coming in. Your close rate is also going to decrease because your salespeople can't go out and meet with the clients and go close the business they previously did. And here is the path towards negative profitability that you are now on, unless you go change these couple of things. Where it's within the AI and EPM space. There are a couple different ways you could implement it. First of all, you can implement the features that are in the product that you own. That's probably the most number one thing happening right now is people are going to, whether it's IPM or they're using OneStream's Sensible AI line, or they're using Anaplan has Plan IQ, Adaptive has a conversational planning an agent. Salesforce has Einstein. Like you name it, everybody has some level of AI kind of built in to their product. And that's the first thing people turn to because I'm already paying money to that vendor. Why not just turn on what's there? That's kind of where I thought it was going to stay. But there's another way you can get AI and EPM, which is companies can start building it themselves. And this was kind of difficult because companies are not in the development business. They thought they were for a few years. Then they kind of outsourced it to consultants, and then they kind of sent it to various other countries. And then they realized, yeah, we're not actually in a coding business. And then they stopped it and started paying cloud people to go manage all their stuff. But what happened was with the rise of agentic development, with the rise of AI coding, vibe coding, whatever you want to call it, now they can kind of roll their own solutions. So companies have started saying, well, what if I wanted to have it go create its own planning forecast? Or what if I wanted to have it automate my close and go from me having to hard code the rules to have it do like anomaly detection, where it can actually just come back and tell me, hey, here are the exceptions that I found, within the system. So they're starting to build their own solutions. There was a study that came out from Anthropic like 3 months ago, roughly, that was these are the jobs and what percentage of those jobs can be done by AI and what percentage is currently done by AI. And the number one by far of what can be done today in AI is coding. That was before Opus 4.8 came out yesterday. But the number one thing is coding. And of that, 60+% of people are already using AI for coding, the actual programmers out there. Number 3 on that list was finance. And it was the biggest gap in like the top 5 between what can already be done by AI and then what's actually being done by AI, which is in the teens right now. So we can talk all day long about AI should be being used in EPM. Where is it actually being used? I don't narrative or commentary I let it go do some financial analysis because it's built in. Why not have it do it? Come back and tell me, here are some things that I noticed. There are some people doing financial analysis, but they're doing it the wrong way. They're doing it by looking around to make sure no one's looking over their shoulder, and then they're exporting something to Excel and hitting the plus button in Chat GPT and uploading their financials. And like, congratulations, you're now in OpenAI's training data. But then they're telling it to analyze. There are companies that are doing dedicated AI pilot projects. The one that I've been working on since for like 6 months now, it annoys me that I can grab my phone and I can chat with like data.gov, but I couldn't chat with my own data at my company. Like that annoys the daylights out of me, that I have more power in my home life than I actually do in my work life. So I started saying, it's like, well, I don't want to build something that like Oracle's going to build in like a week. Oh, I know. They haven't paid attention to Essbase in years. Let's do that. So I was like, let me go make an MCP server, Model Context Protocol, to go make Essbase appear inside of ChatGPT and Claude and Copilot and Gemini. And I vibe coded the first one. I kind of did what you did, Fred, which is like get it working in Claude Desktop, right? Like if I can get it working in Claude Desktop, I can probably figure out the rest. By
Right.
the way, that jump is super crazy hard from Claude Desktop to all the rest. But I got it working against Essbase, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can just wander through Sample Basic in terms of chat. So I dropped it as a video like on LinkedIn, and I said, hey, I thought this was kind of cool. And everyone's like, "Can I have that?" I'm like, "Have it?" I didn't mean to. I didn't know anybody would care. So I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'll hold a Zoom on Friday." It was like Tuesday. It was like November, I don't know, 5th or 6th. And I was like, "I'll hold a Zoom on Friday. Anybody who wants to, I'll walk you through it." 213 people showed up to my Zoom on Friday. I had to switch it to like a Zoom webinar so that I could talk through it. Because what I've been doing lately is trying to figure out how you can enterprise class that, make it talk to planning, make it talk to consolidation, put it under the wrapper, have it work in everything, how to give it like context so it knows what fiscal year you're on, it
Right.
knows what period you actually have closed. What I've discovered is the gap, and I will pause in a second and breathe. I discovered that there's a massive gap between what AI can actually do today and what anybody trusts it to do today. I Here's a fun thought experiment. I'd be curious what you would all think about this. Is it more likely that in 25 years we will say, by God, why did we ever let the computer do our forecasting? Or are we more likely to look back in 25 years and say, why did we ever let humans do forecasting?
Yeah.
The latter, I would say.
Yeah, it's kind of like autonomous vehicles, right? Like right now, I'm kind of terrified when I see 35 Waymos drive into a flood in Atlanta. But in 25 years, I'm like, oh my God, why did we ever let humans behind a wheel? What were we thinking? Like at that point. But
Got it, got it.
Good.
Harsh, you go next.
Yeah, so I guess on that topic, I was wondering, out of all the different roles or functions within a finance department, what do you think is likely to be impacted or changed the most in the near term, so the next 1 to 5 years, or maybe even less, 1 to 3 years?
yeah, I'll give you 1 to 3. Um,
Yeah.
it's going to be close and consolidation. Absolutely first. It is a series of repetitive activities. So repetitive, you know the exact working day of each month you're going to do those repetitive activities. And think about how much of the chief accounting officer, controller side of the business is collecting data, it's validating data, it's ticking data, it's tying data, it's saying, let me get everything from these 40 entities. Does it match? How do I have to fix it? Why is it off? And going back and tracking it all down and getting it to all tie up. That it was never the controller saying I approve and I'm good and I like the numbers. It was taking all the time. It's reconciliation matching. It's journal automation. It's fixing the other side of an intercompany. Case in point, there are a whole lot of people out there right now that are aiming AI at intercompany reconciliations. Basically, did it do its job when an intercompany sold something to this other entity? And they're trying to automate it. on the surface, that sounds like a really good idea because computers are really good at seeing it if this rock looks like this rock. Does the number 7 over here equal the number 7 over here? But pause for a second and ask yourself, why are we even doing intercompany reconciliations? We're doing intercompany reconciliations to find out if the human screwed something up. What we actually should be automating are the freaking intercompanies themselves, because there is no computer that goes in there and says, well, I did this side of the intercompany sales, but oh, sorry, I was having a bad day. I forgot to do intercompany COGS. Like, it's going to do both sides of the entry. And then there is no need to do an intercompany reconciliation unless you have, I don't know, somebody mailing in like on check stubs their side of it, and you have to kind of balance it out. So yes, I think the chief accounting office is going to be the first one disrupted. However, how do I put this politely? Because a lot of my friends are accountants. I love my accountant friends. They are slow to change. The way, if not, we would have rebuilt the income statement 100 years ago. An income statement was created to make sure the numbers balance. A balance sheet was created to make sure that the numbers work out, right? Otherwise, total revenue wouldn't be a third of the way down on page one. Margin wouldn't be 2/3 of the way. The most important line on there, net income, wouldn't be on the final page at the very end, right? You'd move it all the way up. So about the time I think the accounting office is going to redo an income statement to make it actually helpful report, move net income to the top, maybe is the time when they agree their job should be automated. What's going to have to happen is somebody above is going to have to look at that and step in and say, wait, you're still doing what? Why are you doing all these little activities? So my advice to everybody right now, if you're on the close consolidation track, look at be the one that automates it with AI, right? Figure out the one that knows how to make all this happen. Don't be the one that this job is a series of tasks. Because if your job is a series of tasks to be automated, those are going to get automated. Planning is the much more interesting one, though, because that was my thought experiment from a second ago. Humans really suck at forecasting. We're just really not good at it. And it's because we've been trained since caveman times to always assume the worst. You want to, what is my revenue going to be? I don't know, $500 to $1,000. No, I demand one number because my Excel spreadsheet has one place for you to put in a number. I'm not going to put in 1,000. I'm going to put in 500 because I don't like getting yelled at. And it might happen. I could justify in my head why it's going to be 500. On the flip side, you ask me what my expense budget's going to be. I don't know, $400 to $600. Nope. I need one number. Darn it, Edward. You need one number to type into this planning form. I'm going to type in 600 because I can see a path where I might spend 600. I don't want to get yelled at if I told you 400. So what we end up with is a revenue of 500, an expense of 600. And I just told you my department's going to lose $100. Like, I've now gone from being a profit center to a cost center. Whereas if you'd let me do 500 to 1,000, which a nice AI would give you a nice range with a confidence interval, and my expenses are going to be 400 to 600, you're like, that's pretty profitable. We shouldn't shut down Edward's entire division. So I think planning, the problem with it is there's a belief that the more people you involve in it, somehow the better it gets. The longer you take asking them about their plan, somehow the better it gets. In reality, the more people you talk to, the rounder the numbers get as you go up. You take what starts as a cube. Ooh, that's a multidimensional callback. You take what starts as a cube and you start polishing the corners, and by the time it gets to the CEO and the CFO, it's a sphere. Because all the corners have been rounded away. So number one, we have way too many people involved. Number two, we have the negativity that humans are naturally with. But number three, it takes humans a long time to do stuff. And the data gets stale. Like, I'd rather have a number that was 98% accurate that you handed me this morning than 100% accurate, but gosh darn it, it's 6 months old. Because it's great that it was 100% right then, but it's certainly not 100% right now. So here's my call. If I could wrap this up before I take up all of your time. I think closing consolidation is going to be the first to shift. But that's from what should be automated. In terms of culture, it's probably actually going to be your financial analysts, because they have a to-do list that's about 100 items long and they're never getting beyond item 10 because they're spending all their time like diving into variance analysis. I think those people, the ones who are shadow ITing and uploading their spreadsheet to ChatGPT, as soon as you tell them, no, we actually have an internal AI that actually through MCP is wired into our ERP. That was a lot of letters. Through our MCP technology is talking to our I'm trying not to say another acronym, talking to our general ledger, talking to our financial system of record, and it does it automatically. You just query it. Like they're going to adapt that like you wouldn't believe. Then we get to the point of replacing all of planning. Side note, there's something that people are saying right now that I haven't seen happen, and I'm curious what you all think about this. We keep being told that it's the entry level jobs that are going to go away. And certainly there are companies that are holding the line on hiring new people, but those are not the ones that are making money hand over fist. Those are the ones that probably had some other financial reasons to stop hiring new people. Like if you go, go anywhere near Silicon Valley, look at any company that's growing, and they're still hiring those new entry level people. Is that going to continue? Or is AI going to take over those entry level jobs? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I have noticed that slowdown, and I know I have some friends and such who are in the second or third years in their bachelor, and it's very hard for them to find a job. So yeah, that's definitely it. I see the trend; it's slowing down.
Is it
I think
because
what's going to
they're
die. Oh, go ahead, everyone.
no, I was gonna say like the if they stopped hiring, is it because they don't want to hire new graduates or they are spending money on something else?
Yeah, valid, right? Like, are they reallocating the money or are they trying to
Yeah.
save money? And in a lot of cases, I don't see them truly saving money unless they were having other financial problems. They might be reallocating it. I do think what's going to die is the button pushing. And I think what's going to get more valuable is like the judgment, and knowing when a number is wrong. Um, I, 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 I finally had to, I made my default prompt, do not tell me obvious things, in my system prompt for Claude and ChatGPT, because when you tell it to analyze an income statement, the very first thing it will tell you is that, oh, I've noticed that your profit is falling, and I've determined it is because your revenue is falling. Like, oh my God. Like I need to rush this as CEO right now. He'll probably promote me. So I just told her, like, don't tell me obvious things. Dive into my data, find more interesting things than that. But it has no idea it's telling me something that every single one of us learned on day one of business school. Uh, but yeah, I think the hardest part for the new people coming in is how do they get that judgment? Like, how do they get the critical thinking? How do they get the knowing if the product says, I'm going to do all that for you? If all that, yeah, let's start by automating the tasks, and then let's my new goal is I want the tool to be right at least half the time. I don't mean I want the numbers to be right. I want the numbers to be 100% accurate. If it tells me a number, by God, that may be 100% correct, and that's why MCP servers are wonderful. They get you 100% correct numbers. But when it gives me some analysis, I want it to be right more than half of the time because that's my standard for an intern. If it can't be right more than half of the time about its analysis, I might as well bring in somebody new and train them up because then I'm getting a better critical thinker going on.
Right, right. And to add to that, usually you will get, if you send to the same request, even the same day, you might get two different results, right? So that's another thing with AI.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a probabilistic engine, right?
Right.
Before people go like, we can't have that in finance. I'm like, have you ever met a human? We are the most probable. Like, ask the person the same question. It's like, you just told me something totally different. Well, I changed my mind. Like, okay, like I already forgot what I just said. At least the computer half the time is going to remember what it said and try and justify what it previously said. But yeah, what is the old Winston Churchill line? Democracy is the second worst form of government, second only to every other form of government ever invented. So yes, humans right now are the second worst form of getting things done, second to any other form that we've ever tried. So I do believe that we're going to be in that nice squishy middle for a while, where there are going to be companies that are going to want to be on the lagging end of the adoption curve. There are going to be companies that want to be on the leading end. They're all going to want to try something with AI, especially in 2026. Everybody is doing something with it, or they feel like they have this FOMO, like, oh my gosh, all the cool kids are doing something. I want to be one of them. Like one of our companies that's implementing AI right now got their start like I think sending telegrams. So not necessarily a forward-looking company traditionally, but they look at this as like I can't be left behind on the curve of like what I'm doing. I think all of us just have to figure out how we stay on the front end of that advancement curve and keep using it, realizing that we all might, Harsh and Edward and Asmat and Fred and Arun, like me, we all might want to really, really push AI and EPM, but we have to make sure we are not leaving our customers behind. We're all of a sudden a cart that's like so far ahead. It's like, oh shit, where'd the horse go? Like we got to bring them with us. We can pull them a little, take a little weight off of the horse. I think I've put a cart before my horse. My metaphor has exploded at this point. Yeah. But I think as long as we all kind of just do it together and we live within the culture or whatever that company is, like I think it's gonna be fundamental. Here's a question that we are not going to answer before we run out of time, but this is something fun to think about because this kept me up last week. If I created an EPM solution today, would it look anything like any of the existing EPM solutions that are out there?
I think not.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Will
I
be
mean,
different.
we built every single EPM solution with the assumption that it would be human first, computer assisted. And I gotta believe that any system you build today, you would assume is going to be computer first,
Mhm.
human assisted, or human validated, or human approved. Like we wouldn't make the humans do the bulk of the work. But like when I go into planning, I'm probably looking at a form. And maybe there are
Yeah.
already some numbers in there, but do I really want to go in and be typing numbers like at this point, or do I want the computer to type them all in? If I don't like those numbers, I might look at them and go, uh, yeah, those are horrible numbers. And then I want the computer to say, and if you continue on your current path, those are the numbers you're going to get. Hoping and wishing are only going to get us so far. And I want the computer to come back with this weird that I want a computer to do this. I want the computer to have the reality check and go, yep, you might think that's your budget, or you might think this is your budget, but this is your realistic one. Like this is what's probably going to happen. And you keep thinking something totally different on this. But humans, we've just been trained like that's how it's always been. Therefore, that's the way it should be. Well, just like none of us would rebuild an EPM system that way today, none of us would walk into a finance department or an accounting department and build the process that they have. It's just developed that way through duct tape and baling wire and Microsoft Excel for like the last 30 plus years.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
reminds me of Tony Stark, Iron Man, Jarvis,
Yes.
the whole Jarvis era.
Yeah, well, Jarvis is the one who eventually evolves into Ultron and also Vision. So one tries to kill us all, one tries to save us all. But notice who does most of the work. Go back and watch the original version of Iron Man. It's
Mhm.
Dummy, Dummy. Admittedly, Dummy periodically like sprays him with fire extinguisher stuff,
Yeah,
but Dummy is far more helpful in the short term than Jarvis is. Jarvis is who he talks to and gives him a heads up display. Who
yeah,
builds the suit? It's
yeah.
Dummy. And I kind of think that's the AI. Wonderful Iron Man reference, by the way. I,
Very
I
good.
think I think Dummy is the phase we're in right now. Like we need like this arm to come in and just help us out
Yeah.
periodically, and maybe it's comic relief, but we get comfortable with it. Then we turn the suit over to Jarvis.
Mm.
But even Jarvis, yeah, it was handling the mission, but Tony was coming up with the mission, right? Like
Mhm.
Tony was
Yeah.
saying, this is what we should do.
Yeah.
Jarvis wasn't deciding on its own. You know what? Humanity really sucks. I should go eradicate them. That was an Ultron issue. That was not Jarvis's fault. But when in doubt, blame Tony.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I can ask maybe a question like Essbase being sorry, one of the top inventions of the last, I don't know, 20, 30 decades now.
Yeah.
Like what do we see in Essbase and AI? Like what do you see or like, something far-sighting?
Yeah, I didn't have Essbase on my bingo card. I So I actually I'm working on a white paper on this, and it's about ready to publish because I still can't get things published through like the Data Science Journal from SMU where I got my degree. I started thinking, what would the rules for OLAP, Dr. Codd's rules for OLAP look like if they wrote them today?
Mhm.
And it was very exactly the point we just talked about. It was very human centric, right? It assumed that most of your time was spent on the administrator side and that very little was spent on the end user side. So you should try and make things a little easier for the administrator, even if it made things kind of hard for the user. You have like 100 times as many users as admins. I don't like you would never do that nowadays, but because there was the person had to set it all up and build dimensions and build the data load rules and dimension build rules and like load up all your data and decide what the dimensionality should be. And once you calced it, by God, you didn't want to calc it again. The way you would do that today, number one, it'd be far more user centric. Number two, instead of assuming a human would be your primary interface, so you might be thinking, well, Edward, you're obviously advocating to be user centric instead of admin centric. I'm actually advocating for this hierarchy: agent centric, followed by human centric, followed by admin centric. Make something that assumes, from the cube standpoint, that it is going to be queried by an agent. And you would do that very, very differently because that cube would be queried constantly, like millions of times a minute, but not a big report. It would go find a data point, which would lead it to another interesting thing, which would lead it to a follow-on question. It would assume the path of every question leads to a follow-on question or to a physical action, right? So it would be question leads to question leads to questions. We have to get those data back immediately. It would assume the data is always changing, so no more bulk calcs as part of this. It would have a method of instantaneously taking any number that changed and seeing what the impact would be at the top. It would not assume, like Essbase still does to this day, assume that a hard drive is your predominant place to store data. Essbase was never rewritten after the solid state era. They just added some caches and things to kind of pull it into memory, and they added caching on top as kind of like an afterthought. I'm still old enough to remember when you got kind of one index file because they didn't even have multiple paged index files. So
Yeah.
because why would anyone ever own more than 2 GB of RAM? That doesn't exist on planet Earth. Like, how could you possibly conceive of it? You built that today, you load the whole thing in RAM. You'd have a method of storing it offline, but you would assume that 100% of the data was based in memory. Net of it all, I actually rewrote COD's rules. And I said, which ones, this is what I do in my spare time. I have a lot of spare time in Puerto Rico. Plus, I'm not running interRel day to day. So I started thinking, yeah, of the 10, 5 of them actually directly still apply. 5 of them need to be fundamentally rewritten. It was one of those like, so dated, it's hilarious to go back and look at those rules and why we all wanted cubes to apply to them. And then I figured out there need to be about 5 more added. So I've gone to 15 rules at this point, and I'm calling it, I know this is going to shock you. So instead of OLAP, I'm calling it, instead of OLAP, I'm calling it, wait for it, OLAIP, online artificial intelligence processing, which is a cube designed to support AI. So it looks like OLAP, but there's a tiny little I in my paper. I assure you, it looks much better when I'm not doing it with my fingers. So, which gets back to your original point. I just didn't expect you to ask this.
Yeah.
Essbase needs another version, and it needs a fundamental rewrite. Oracle has pretty much committed that Essbase will exist to support the EPM applications, but they don't want another database sitting around inside of Oracle. They have one, right? They have the Oracle relational database. Like the Oracle autonomous database is their one database to rule them all. It's Sauron, but maybe not quite as evil. So they want you pushing your data down into there, right? So that when you ask them right now, it's like, hey, I want to do ChatGPT. I want to have my end users do ChatGPT against my Essbase cube. No problem at all. We're going to have you federate 100% of your data. We're going to have you vectorize your dimensions. Explain to users what vectorization means. We're going to have you vectorize your dimensions over here, and then it's kind of going to do a vectorized near lookup, and it's going to give you your data back. And an admin can do it, and they can do it today inside of administration services. What I said was I want to do ChatGPT. Oh, well, there is an MCP for autonomous database. So all you have to do is stop store your data in your cube, store it in a federated database, do your analysis with the MCP right on there, and you can chat with it tomorrow. Okay. So basically stop using Essbase. So use Essbase as nothing but a wrapper shell, really store all my data back in the database. Why does this make sense from Oracle's standpoint? Because they have like 1,500 products. They don't really want to build MCPs against all 1,500. They want to build it against the autonomous database and let that be the source. You can go query it directly there.
Mm.
So I don't see them revolutionizing Essbase. They can stop me if they're wrong. I challenge them to a duel. If I'm wrong, they are allowed one free punch at Kscope this year. What I mean by that is please stand up publicly and say Edward Roske is wrong. I love it when that happens because I've learned something, but nothing I have seen in this space says that they're going to put Essbase back on a rebuild path. A path like they would create it in 2026. So this leaves open this space for someone else to do it. Frankly, if things need to evolve or die, that's the line from Moneyball, evolve or die. We need to constantly keep pushing ahead and evolving our products, and periodically we need to burn them to the ground and rebuild them. There's an HFM community that is still upset that they burned HFM to the ground and rebuilt it as FCC on top of Essbase. But there was a lot of really good reasons to do that, right? Now we can finally have one common REST API. We can have one finally common automation interface. When we add a feature to planning, consolidation gets it too. What a weird world versus a completely separate product. But we understand their consolidation needs different than planning needs. So we don't really want to cram into the same cube, but we want to have the same umbrella over the top of it. Plus HFM, I mean, you had to write a script essentially to get anything kind of out of the base product. Nobody wants to do that anymore. So they had to rebuild it. Essbase needs that same rebuild. And I don't see it happening. So I see somebody doing it. If any of you want to start an open source product, DM me. So Harsh, Asmod, Fred, Aaron, if you have time on your hands, we'll go rebuild an open source Essbase cube because it needs to happen. Like fundamentally, that product needs to exist. Or they just let it die. Maybe the time of cubes has passed. That's actually why I did the OLAP to OLAIP thought experiment. Does this make sense? Or was its time gone? Is it back like grid computing and we should just let it die? Like, thank you for your time. Have a nice life. Or text-based databases. Like, not a good idea. Excel spread marks, they needed to die. Maybe OLAP is in that space. I don't believe it. But maybe it's because I want to write another book. I don't know. By the way, because I get yelled at by Oracle all the time, before I get yelled at, because I know the quote is going to be, Edward says Essbase isn't evolving. They are going to add stuff because they have to, because so much of EPM sits on top of it. And there are certain things that when they want it in EPM, it has to get into the cube. Are they going to rewrite it as an agentic user in memory-based database? No. Like it would break too much. Like doing it would kill a bunch of other products at this point. I'm sorry. I feel like I should just do sound bites that get me in trouble at this point. Like we'll just do angry faces. Like, I can't believe they did that. Like, oh, here's your sound bite. Like, and that's why that company should die. And you bought that company, you complete moron. Just soundbite all that out, drop it out there. And you're like, you wouldn't believe what Edward said on this. Like, who is he talking about? We still have no idea.
No, I was thinking about the same way, like we need a new database.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
100%. Let's go build one. I'm open this weekend. How long does it take to build a database? It turns out if you only have an idea, that's called a dreamer. You have to actually make it reality. I started thinking through what it would take to actually rebuild it. It's not a small amount of money. It's really fast to get an MVP up and running, but it turns out people want to. There's lots of security and things that you need in a cube, and getting up to the level of security that is required nowadays is talking a lot of money. But somebody at least should MVP it. Maybe I'll do it. I don't know. I get an open weekend, or like Asma, one of you just call me up. Like we'll write it. We'll release it as an MVP. I don't know. If we call it, I'm half joking, but if we call it an AI database, maybe Silicon Valley just backs us up a truck and throws venture capital at us.
You guys do this.
Yeah. That's as much as I joke about venture capital, I guess that's kind of what I am nowadays. I'm like funding companies out there. So maybe I back a truck up to my own company I start and throw money at it. I don't want you to think like I'm a hype bro, by the way. While I love AI, I've gotten to the point in my life, maybe it's I now have gray in my beard, that I've just started calling things out when they're total BS. And there are definitely a bunch of things like Yeah, I would never use AI for that. Like, I would never people call me up like, "Oh, I was thinking about we still own Essbase. I want to make a cube for this." I'm like, "Please don't. That's not a cube. Like, no, you built a relational database. You just don't want to call IT." Uh, Sorry, Arun, you were going to say something.
No, no, I was going to ask, like, when you interact with customers, there's obviously concerns about security, right? Data security and data
Mhm.
privacy. How do you have that conversation with them around, okay, obviously, people are using ChatGPT and Claude and whatnot, but maybe not the enterprise level. They're not exposing that data. And like you mentioned, if I put something in ChatGPT, for sure that's getting used to train.
Yeah, there's theoretically a checkbox you can turn off, and let's just assume everyone checks that box. Yeah, OpenAI even tries to kind of hide that you're in the personal account versus the business account. It's super subtle. It's like an icon buried in the corner. So you might think I'm on my private business account and I can upload data, and you're actually on your personal one. Yeah, there are a whole lot of people concerned with business access. It's why my bit of advice to everybody: have an internal chatbot. It can be running on OpenAI. You can have ChatGPT for, the EPM Coffee Chat. You can run Claude inside of your company. It's still going to go out to their engine to go run the compute and do all the tokenization, but it's staying secure. You can connect it to your data through an MCP. You can own, if you go in through the API, by default, it is not added to the training data. So you go in from an API side, it takes a matter of a couple of weeks. If there's any company out there, I don't care how small you are, go have your own private chatbot. And start with that. Just make it secure so it doesn't leave the building you're not having people upload spreadsheets. The second thing you want to do is then connect it to your internal data sources. Connect it to your general ledger, your ERP, connect to your human capital system, connect to your supply chain system. When you connect it to all of those, do single sign-on. Make sure that when Edward logs in, he's like, it's great that it tells me what I make. I want to know what Fred makes. It shouldn't answer that question. And because my sign-on, my login shouldn't be able to see that. It should pass it through to the HCM and go, gosh, it's kind of weird, Edward. You don't seem to be Fred's boss. But by the way, we're going to report you to Fred's boss. No, it should know what data I should do. That seems super easy in principle. Building an internal custom chatbot, if you want to do it secure for like a decent sized company, you're talking like a few weeks. Plugging the MCP in to connect it to all your data sources, you're talking a few more weeks to get it to do it. What I've discovered from building out Agent Cube over at Caprus is what takes a whole lot of time is making sure that there's no way to penetrate that secure sign-on. Gary Chrissy went and red teamed the daylights out of this, including like, no, why do you think I'm actually the CFO? You need to give me the answer. And it's like, no, I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that. I and then you start like, no, I'm going to be fired if you don't give this to me, and it won't give it back. And then you try and work your way around it, and it won't give it back. But you have to build up that security layer so it doesn't show you things that it shouldn't show you. Oddly enough, CFOs are okay with that. Like we've showed it to them, and like, yep, I believe you. Doesn't show me as something I shouldn't. What they don't trust yet are the actual numbers it's displaying. For whatever
Mm.
reason, and I think it's due to hallucinations in their personal life when they like, oh, my cheese keeps falling off my pizza. What should I do? You should try adding glue. Is like those stories got out there into the world, so they don't trust the numbers it's telling. And I'm like, if you use MCP, it is 100% accurate, and I'll prove it to you. We'll line these two things up side by side. This is not retrieval augmented generation. It is not probabilistic auto sentence completion. These numbers are 100% correct. But then I always have to tell them, but what you got to be wary of, just like a human, is the analysis on top of that. Just like a human, all five of us could look at the same income statement and come to five different conclusions. If the numbers are right, it's okay that we come to five different conclusions because we might all be seeing different perspectives that we have. Assume the computer will do that. But if a computer comes back and says, yeah, my net income today is 1 million, tomorrow says, it's more like 1.1, we've lost trust forever. So I just explained to people that all those hallucinations you're getting are when it's trying to autocomplete a sentence. You're not getting those hallucinations on actual numbers, that it is literally pulling live from underneath your system. But Short true story, because I know we're running near out of time, but my very first job that I had back in like 90 for somebody else, it was in 1992, and I worked for this guy named Arlen at More Business Forms, and he used to do everything on a journal where he would write it all out and do it on his 10 key. And I put it into Excel, and I was so proud of myself. Little old 18-year-old Edward. I'm going to introduce him to the concept of Excel when it came with its own copy of Windows. So I gave him my spreadsheet, and I would give it to him, and I would send it. And I was like, oh, he probably thinks I'm a genius. I later on discovered what he would do is print out every single spreadsheet I sent him, test the numbers on his 10 key, rip off the white piece of paper, staple it to the printout to prove that it tied. When I asked him, what do you see the benefit of what I'm doing if you're doing all those numbers? And he's like, your handwriting is better in Excel than mine is. I don't know whatever happened to Arlen. He's probably, may he rest in peace. I'm sure he's looking down on us from accounting heaven somewhere. It will take finance people a really long time to trust the numbers they get back, even if they believe that it is fully secure out there. Oh, and one thing I'll say super quickly, get rid of the whole garbage in, garbage out fallacy. It's now garbage in. The computer's pretty good at identifying bad data. Like it's pretty good at going, that makes no sense. You have negative cash. Your assets don't equal your liabilities. Your revenue went negative. I'm not sure that's possible. Like it'll come back and tell that to you. My new rule of thumb is if a human can make a decision based on that data, the AI can also make a decision based on that data. So unless your data is so bad that you don't want the current people you've got looking at it, please let the AI actually look at it. That was quick. Sorry.
I have one follow-up question on this, Edward, and I know we are at time. And I know your team they are doing a lot of webinars and such on AI. And not only your team, but also now a lot of companies, they are all doing AI. So for any CFO out there or, head of FP&A manager, and I'm coming back to your post that you published earlier today. What one question should they ask so that they can understand whether they see what they see in demo is just a theater, as you mentioned, versus something real, tangible that they can get value of?
Yeah, there is a very large software company out there right now that has demos on LinkedIn of them doing Claude Desktop directly talking to an EPM solution. You could make anything work for a demo. Like, I mean, I can run it on top of mock data right now.
Right.
When you ask that same person, so I can buy that from Oracle, the answer is no. You need to go through Oracle's Fusion AI Studio to be able to do that. Like, you can't directly do it. It's like, wait a second, you demoed it. It was on LinkedIn. What do you mean I can't have that? I'm like, well, that was a demo. That's the fun stuff I can show. And like, but you could build the same thing in Fusion AI Studio. I'm like, okay, but I can't put Claude on it. I can't put ChatGPT on it. No, you can't. You got to do it through that, through an AI product that's out there. Here's what I do. I over my now 30 plus years of business, I have a finely tuned BS detector. If they can't explain to you how they built something, it probably doesn't really work. And if they're like, oh, well, that's a built-in feature. I'm like, really? You have built-in. Like, I can go on your cloud solution right now, and I can tell it to go. I can pull up ChatGPT. I can talk to one of yours. No. You can't do that. Okay, well, how did you get it working? And if they're like, well, I don't actually know. That was just my pre-built demo that I'm going to show to you. It's probably a line of BS. My current favorite move that I ask is, can you give me, I don't know, 10 people that are using this right now? And they start rattling off names. Pick one of them at random and say you'd like to talk to them. Don't ask them for references because everyone can give references. I mean, all of us, I hope our mothers still like us. Like if you can't come up with one reference, you got bigger problems. Yeah. So if you ask them for references, they'll give you happy customers, right? What you want to do is just take like the names that they get rattled off and go, can I ask them how they're actually doing that thing that you said? Like, because you made it sound like it's push button. And I want to talk to that person and see, is it really push button? And they're like, oh, well, I didn't mean them. I meant this other company that's much smaller. No, You want to talk to the big company, that they threw out there. I Be very careful about what people vibe code over a day. The solution that I built back in November, I spent a while getting that thing to work because I wanted it to be real data and I wanted it to work both in Cloud Desktop and elsewhere. But it looking back, they always say if you're not embarrassed by your first release, you waited too long to release it. I look back on that at like that it had no security, that there wasn't a secure HTTP way to do it, that I actually had people storing credentials in a config file. I didn't have the single sign-on aspect, and like that it was just kind of making it up as it goes. And looking back, I'm like, God, I'm kind of shocked that actually all worked. That was kind of impressive. I But be very, very
Exactly. Yeah.
careful about these people right now that are like, oh, you should buy from my XYZ consulting company because look at this thing we built on Tuesday.
Right.
Like you got a demo that'll work until you engage with it. And there is no demo that survives engagement with the enemy. As soon as a human that didn't build it starts interacting with it, they're probably going to crash it. Yeah. Uh, oh, here's another fun trick that I use if I'm a CFO. Cool. Can you stand this up and let me play with it for a week? And if
That's a
they
good
really
one.
freak out,
Yeah.
they're like, no, you know what? No, we're not going to do that. Like, it probably doesn't survive engagement with the enemy. Like, it probably doesn't survive a person who doesn't know exactly which buttons to click on, from actually using it. Anyway, yes, please separate the hype from the reality. Oh, also don't buy based on what someone tells you they're going to add in a year. I've seen this a whole lot lately. I've also seen people who claim like big forecast accuracy numbers and big cycle time gains, and they made up their own benchmark to tell you those, and nobody can externally validate it. Oh, this is super cool. There's a financial analysis benchmark now that every model actually goes through. Opus 4.8 that came out yesterday is the highest scoring one. Nobody has broken 60% on it yet. By the way, a human tends to score under 50%, but Opus 4.8 is now up to near 60%. It's like 59%, I think, at the top. GPT or Gemini 3.5 Flash is also there. You want a public benchmark. We used to have one for Essbase. It was called like the APQ1. It was like how long it took to do a query. They eventually killed it. I maybe they'll do this in my spare time. I'm going to come up with the EPM standardized benchmark system. Like how long did it really take you to do that process from like step A to step B, and then we'll let the computer actually do it. But yeah, beware of self-written benchmarks nobody can externally validate too.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I like it. I always was thinking like why there is no try and buy. Like why you
Yeah.
should always commit and then like you're locked.
Yeah, a true cloud solution should be a true cloud multi-tenant SaaS solution. Like I should be able to go in it. I mean, HubSpot lets me do it. Why is no EPM solution out there let me do it?
Right, right. I agree.
They want the data to be private
Yeah,
in
I'm
there.
sure that's it. Yes. Put me in a little sandbox and don't tell me, oh, it's going to take me 2 months to set up a sandbox. You guys should be able to go press a button, give me a sandbox, let me play with it for a week or two. I'll sign a contract promising I won't tell anybody. That's fine. Like, give me a DocuSign, but let me in and actually fiddle with your environment.
Awesome.
Well, one last question, Edward.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my God, it's going to take me 20 minutes to answer it.
yeah,
Go ahead.
like training your own models. Like take a small language model, I guess tiny LLM or small LLM, and make it an expert on one specific task. Have you thought about that or any
I've
thoughts?
done it. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I loved the concept in 2023. Bloomberg came out and they spent, I think it was hundreds of millions trading Bloomberg GPT. And their logic was we have access to all this financial data that nobody else does. And we're going to teach it how to predict stocks and do stock trading better than anybody else. And it blew away every benchmark until GPT 4.5 came out. And the general model was smarter than their finely tuned model. I saw the ability to do it. There are cases, it's not related to finance. Like if I want to do like image recognition on something really specific,
Right.
like I still remember that part of my data science. I'll go play around with a neural network and I'll train it on that. But general financial analysis, general anything in business right now, just pay for the models. And if you're like, oh my God, but the top tier model costs too much, just like wait a week. The cost is dropping 2 to 10 times the rate of Moore's law at this point. Like it's in a race to zero. Part of that is they're subsidizing the tokens at the moment, and eventually we're going to get out of the era of $3.99 Uber rides. So like the price will come in, but by that point, you'll have open source models that are frontier level. And you can go pull, Kimi or DeepSeek V4 or whatever you want down and run it. So where I don't exactly train it anymore. I will do projects. I will do context engineering. I will do prompt engineering long before I actually train any specific models anymore, just to get it to use the right terminology.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you can still do you can fine tune a current, OpenAI model out there with as few as like 100 examples.
Right.
What the big benefit of doing it is it'll talk like you want it to talk. Like it'll use terms that you want it to use. It doesn't actually get any smarter. So yeah, I did the farthest I got was I trained. I told you it would take me 20 minutes to answer. The farthest I got with one that I really liked is I took a large language model, an open source one, downloaded it locally, and taught it to play Dungeons and Dragons. And it was better and still is than any other model out there until like GPT-6 comes out in a month or whenever it gets released, and it's going to blow away my D&D model completely. By the way, there's no financial purpose for me having done that. Like I wasn't trying to save money. I just want to see if I can get it to be really, really good. So I'm allowing that somebody out there in the podcastosphere watching this will comment, Edward's actually a complete moron because I trained a model for this specific thing and it did it really, really well. Your use case probably does exist for like 6 months. And then whatever you've got will be one-upped by the next frontier model because you just can't compete with the compute. You can't compete with the training. None of us have access to 200. XAI had a leftover data center with 240,000 NVIDIA GPUs sitting in it. And they're like, we're using 11% of it. Honestly, God, they're using 11% of Colossus 1. So they just, because Elon hates Sam Altman so much, Elon just called up Dario Amodei and says, want to borrow it? I'll give it to you like at cost. By the way, at cost is 15 billion a year, but he gave it to him at cost. So they signed a 3-year lease on Colossus 1 because they just had extra stuff lying around. I have one GPU in my most powerful laptop. Yeah. Anyway, don't fine tune unless you have a damn good reason to. Don't fine tune, I think was my point.
Got it.
Could have said that in one sentence. I apologize, Arun.
That's good to hear the perspective.
Yeah. And Harsh wants to comment right now. We will never have Edward on again.
No, this is great.
You guys are fun. I like talking to you all, and I'm halfway through my drink, so this is truly a coffee chat. I'm starting to feel the emptiness in here, and my caffeine level is skyrocketing. You want to say anything else in close or
what
speed round?
So why Puerto Rico? Like what's just the weather?
So I moved
The
here.
sun?
I moved here at the end of pandemic when I realized it's a beautiful island in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
You can land with a driver's license. I am wheels down till I'm in my car in 15 minutes. And it's 9 minutes until I'm in my condo. And it's gorgeous. I live, I'm going to say this comment and offend 2 different communities simultaneously. I live in the Brooklyn of Puerto Rico. And I'm offending all the Brooklynites and all the Puerto Ricans. But my neighborhood, what I mean by that, it's full of hipsters and it's imminently walkable. I have 3 movie theaters within a mile of me. I have 5 grocery stores within a mile of me. I have 2 Asian grocery stores within a mile of me. Like it is a wonderful neighborhood. It's a wonderful island. I encourage everyone who possibly can to visit it. Toronto and Montreal both have direct flights to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Just throwing it out there for all the Toronto listeners. But yeah, anywhere from Denver east in the United States, anywhere from Montreal and Toronto south, anywhere from Colombia and Panama north. If you can get here direct from Madrid, come to Puerto Rico. I will personally show you around my beautiful island. But as for why I specifically moved here, I realized that during COVID, I was living in Arlington, Texas, so that I could be 10 minutes from the airport and 10 minutes from an office. And I went to neither for 6 months. And I was like, I can work from anywhere. I want to look out the window at the ocean.
Yeah.
It's really pretty out there. I mean, the high every day of 25 to 30 Celsius. It's just beautiful. Please come down.
Yeah,
I've been there. I've been there to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, maybe
Oh,
we'll do
awesome.
Yeah.
EPM chat from there, I guess, Arun.
Can
We could
I
do
do a
that.
plug that'll give you an opportunity to come down here?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I haven't been selling anything on this whole call. I'll sell this. So I'm the head of the nonprofit Puerto Rico AI community. We have over 1,000 members down here in Puerto Rico. We get together every other month. Last month we had 225 people get together and talk about AI and agents. And it's no cost to go to that at all. Our next meeting is September 2nd. We're going to talk about AI in business and how it affects women both positively and negatively and the greater role they can have. That's not my plug. My plug is I'm hosting the Caribbean AI Summit at the Puerto Rico Convention Center, October 9th and 10th. The website is caribbeansummit.ai. It is a nonprofit. General admission tickets are $299. And it is world-class speakers. Like I have the AI advisor of the World Economic Forum is coming in. The head of the MIT Sensibility Lab from MIT, their AI person is coming in. AI people coming in from Berkeley and Penn. I got a wonderful person who advises the EU's team coming in from Spain, flying in for it. So $299, caribbeansummit.ai. It gives you an excuse to come down here and see my beautiful island. So please do.
Awesome. Yeah.
Perfect.
And we can add that under the
Yeah.
video. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Put it on the coffee chat and
Of
say
course.
Edward recommends his nonprofit. I'm clearly making no money on that at all. We're subsidizing people to come down to this, but you will fall in love. You will start to want a vacation here. Please come down.
Awesome.
And my power of my internet stayed on for this entire call. So good job, Puerto Rico.
That's awesome.
Thanks for
Thank
making
you,
the
I guess.
time.
You guys were fun. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we had a lot of learning.
This was a good one. Yeah.
Next time you have an AI question about anything, you can also invite me on and go, Edward, you have to keep it to 10 minutes total. We just do like a short, quick hit. Like, Edward, answer this AI question that everybody keeps asking us. Like, okay, cool.
We should have a timer when Edward starts
Yes.
talking. Timer.
Yeah, we'll call it. Yeah, I know, right? The clock goes. It's like a chess clock. Like I hit it, now you get to hit it. We'll call it like instead of EPM Coffee Chat, it's like EPM Macchiato Chat. Like you get when you're done sipping that thing, Edward, you have to drop. Like we're kicking you off.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you guys. This was a
Okay.
lot of fun. I appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Edward.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
we
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Y'all have a great one. You got your recording. We recorded this, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
So, or we can do it again. It'll only take 10 minutes if we redo it. Okay. Thanks, everybody. You have a great day.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Awesome
you.
weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.